FTX reveals more than that crypto is a mirage. It shows how your government shakes you down for campaign contributions. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbun. A company calling itself FTX went bankrupt last week and took a major Democratic Party mega donor down with it. Naturally, in all the excitement about the red wave and the triple seawall that stopped it, few paid attention. High finance always confuses those who don't play that game. But new details that even the mainstream media can't hide paint a picture of deep corruption. FTX now appears to have laundered billions of dollars pledged to one dubious purpose: to finance the Democratic Party's campaigns. These were public funds, and too many people in government and the party knew it. Democratic Party voters now need to ask themselves, are they copacetic with such thievery? I promise you, I have the evidence. Before I start sharing it, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which reads, "I need new conspiracies, as all the old ones came true." This is one such conspiracy. At least someone out there showed that the whole program of military aid to Ukraine was a means by which to launder money for the campaign coffers of the Democratic Party. Now we have proof, because at least this particular scheme blew up in their faces. But have no fear, they'll just gin up another one. One more thing. If you can appreciate what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, you see that new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click on that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now then, the most detailed report on FTX, what they did, and how they crashed, comes from an author calling himself Noah. Now, do not confuse him with Trevor Noah of Daily Show fame and an unabashed leftist. This is a different Noah. This morning, he published a piece in his We Love Trump newsletter, after publishing another piece last night. A young man named Samuel Bankman-Fried, or SBF for short, and how he loves his initialisms, founded FTX. He also is on record as the second largest Democratic Party donor, a relatively distant second to George Soros. In fact, Soros gave over 3 times as much as SBF did. Twitter user ProCoinNews shared a tweet, to which I have a link in the description, containing a graphic of the 10 biggest donors the Democratic Party has. There's George Soros at the top, and next to him, SBF, giving nearly $40 million to Soros' $128 million. This Noah describes where that money came from. I quote, "The U.S. takes billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars and funnels these over to Ukraine. Ukraine then puts these billions into FTX. Remember, it appears to not be a real company, more like a government plant. FTX is owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. SBF then takes the billions and donates them back to the Democratic Party. This part is not speculation. SBF was the number 2 largest donor to the Democrats, right behind George Soros. The Democrat Party then funnels the money to people like Joe Biden, 10% for the big guy, and uses it to run election campaigns in all states at all levels." Unquote. Twitter user Kim.com explains it with a graphic showing the money trail. Taxpayer to the State Department, to Ukraine, to FTX, to the Democratic Party, then to the campaigns. Now, I'm not saying the Democrats got all the money. In fact, as money laundering schemes go, this is probably the least efficient. But who quibbles about efficiency when the money is there and it's big with a capital B? Link in the description, of course. And to 2 tweets by Elon Musk saying, 1, don't expect any investigation, and 2, giving his own graphic showing relationships among SBF and the head of the Securities Exchange Commission and 2 people named Glenn and Caroline Ellison. Caroline Ellison is the head of an outfit called Alameda Research. Bear that name in mind. I also have a tweet from Jack Posobiec, who says this, and I quote, "It is increasingly looking like the Democrats' 2022 campaigns were funded by kickbacks from Ukraine funding using FTX as the pass-through vehicle. No wonder dude is scared for his life after ripping off these people," with a picture of SBF, with another picture of the resident on his left, and on the right is a bearded and mustachioed man who I assume is Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. These sources have evidence. The cryptocurrency news site CoinDesk reported the association between FTX and Ukraine last springtime. Now, at the time, all that CoinDesk seemed to know was that FTX was converting cryptocurrency donations for Ukraine into regular currency, which the cryptocurrency community calls fiat, for deposit in the National Bank of Ukraine. Well, evidently, that wasn't the end of FTX questionable practices. So, on the week of the election, customers started a run on the exchange. FTX, having exhausted its reserves, filed for bankruptcy, according to Reuters. On their own Twitter account, FTX tweeted out a press release announcing the bankruptcy filing. I have a link in the description. And then I have a link to an image of text from an account calling itself Sarah Connor. It's the name of the female lead in the Terminator franchise. Image of text is a fairly common Twitter practice. They allow you less than 300 characters. So if you want to say any more, lots of people just build an image of the long message and share that instead of the text itself. Elon Musk knows about the practice and he thinks it's ridiculous. So someday you'll be able to send longer text as text attachments. But we're not there yet. So this is how this Sarah Connor person had to send her message. And now I'm going to quote it for you, though it's a long one. Before I do, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come, and by helping you get into something that is inherently safer than crypto turned out to be. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. All right. Here is the message from the user calling herself Sarah Connor. Quote, "At this early hour, it appears that tens of billions in American military aid to Ukraine, which was allegedly to be used to fight Russia, was cash that Ukraine did not use to fight Russia, but instead invested into FTX. And, as you might guess from the bankruptcy filing, it now seems that all of the money is gone." Yes, you read that correctly. Instead of using U.S. military aid to fight Russia, Ukraine invested part of it or all of it into FTX. And right now, it looks as if all of the money is gone. Also at this early hour, it now also appears that the chief of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, was the number 2 donor to the Democrats. He was only outspent by George Soros himself. It seems Ukraine was receiving money from the U.S., Ukraine sent it to FTX, and FTX sent it to Democrats who originally voted to send it to Ukraine. And at this hour, it appears to some observers to be pure criminal money laundering and a criminal conspiracy to violate campaign finance laws. It now seems to closely watching observers that the kid burned his own company and his own hindquarters just to make sure that the Dems won the midterm elections, and seems to have done it by pulling the rug out from all those who had funds there in FTX. So the collapse of FTX is now linked not only to Ukraine, but also to U.S. Democratic politicians who got money from Sam Bankman-Fried to campaign for the just-ended elections, unquote, Sarah Connor. Joe Hoft at the Gateway Pundit has an article saying much the same. 2 other Twitter users suggested that SBF had another motive, to demonstrate the need to regulate cryptocurrency, which is exactly what Karine Jean-Pierre called for on Thursday. I have a link in the description to a tweet from Disclose TV with video of Karine Jean-Pierre calling for crypto regulation, and one from a user named Chad Morgan predicting this very thing. The Daily Caller reports that the Commodities Futures Trading Commission is investigating. This comes after SBF moved $10 billion in client assets from FTX to another firm he owned, Alameda Research. You remember that. That's where Caroline Ellison comes in. Now, Reuters reports another embarrassment. Over $1 billion of these funds are missing. In fact, Reuters has already reported that Alameda had losses that FTX executives did not know about. Reuters further reported on an investigation of FTX by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Well, given what Elon Musk tweeted about the relationships, we'll see how far that goes. Probably nowhere. Now, will Samuel Bankman-Fried go to prison for what he did? I doubt it. But Miranda Devine at the New York Post reports that SBF hopped to the Bahamas on his way to Dubai. Bahamian authorities then arrested him, and they have him in custody. Well, moving forward, the Democratic Party has lost their number 2 donor. He had been planning to donate over $100 million and as much as $1 billion to Democrats for 2024. That will not happen, at least not through Samuel Bankman-Fried. But sadly, there might literally be more where he came from. As recently as 2019, no one had ever heard of him. And yet here he is, dropping big money in the 2020 campaign. No doubt the Democrats are busy looking for their next Samuel Bankman-Fried. Furthermore, voters need to ask themselves how much the Democratic agenda really means to them. Democrats in Congress, most of whom won re-election, voted to use Ukraine as a money laundry. Ukraine willingly took part in the scheme. So this isn't about Samuel Bankman-Fried or FTX. This is about every Democrat from the White House down. And while I'm on the subject, anyone wondering whether Ukraine was a just cause now has the answer. No. A country genuinely facing undeserved conquest does not spend money on elections in another country. Not when its enemy has annexed 10% of it. Yet that is what Ukraine did. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a test of the American community. 2 years from now, or 1 year in New Jersey and Virginia, voters will have another decision to make. If we must believe that the election results are genuine, then most voters last week decided that they did not care whether they were better off now than 2 years ago and blamed those evil Republicans in any case, are perfectly copacetic with psychological, physiological, and surgical experimentation on children, and are equally willing to risk nuclear combat toe-to-toe with the Ruskies if it means raising money to beat those evil Republicans in an election. You heard me. Nuclear combat toe-to-toe with the Ruskies. You remember who spoke that line. Actor Slim Pickens as Major King Kong USAF in the movie Dr. Strangelove. I have a link in the description to the 5-minute scene in which Major Kong's B-52 crew get the go code, run around checking to make sure it's genuine, after which Major Kong gives his famous pep talk, leading with that very phrase to the accompaniment of "When Johnny Comes Marching Home Again, hurrah, hurrah," arrangement for trumpet, snare drums, and men's vocals. Well, even laying that aside, now voters must ask themselves how willing are they to steal large amounts of money from fellow citizens. Forced charity, i.e. the welfare state, is one thing. Perhaps someone might sympathize. But now, we're talking about wholesale theft of taxpayers' money to finance political campaigns. If that's where we have come, if people shrug this story off with a big so what, then the secessionists are right. Andrew Torba is right to call upon people to balkanize and build. Dan Miller is right to call for Texas to secede from the Union. Mike McCarter is right to try to lead at least 17 Oregon counties and maybe 5 more to become part of Idaho instead. He even has polling data showing that at least suggests that Northwestern Oregonians might gladly say goodbye to those counties once they realize how much retaining them costs them in taxes. It's your decision 2 years from now. I'll tell you this. I don't care to live in a society that shakes me down for the expenses of its own propaganda. Not even the so-called bony of ancient Rome ever tried to pull a stunt like that. And if all some of you can say to me is that I'm just being a sore loser and a poor sport, and especially if you're going to tell me, "Come on, you old fud, get with the program," well, I have nothing further to say to you. If you don't think that's fair of me, leave a comment. I'll even leave it up so long as I wouldn't have to bowdlerize it. But right now, I am looking at residential real estate in Texas, Idaho, Florida, and Tennessee, for starters. Maybe some of you who see this deal as I see it might want to do the same thing. Now, I am neither lawyer, nor financial analyst, nor accountant, certified public or otherwise, nor real estate expert. I can't make these decisions for you. All I can share is my decision and the information that informs it. Link in the description to the article, to ProCoinNews tweet of the 10 most generous leftist donors, to the first 4 tweets graphically showing what happened at FTX, to FTX own press release detailing its bankruptcy filing, to the long Sarah Connor message, to the 2 tweets about crypto regulations, to that clip from Dr. Strangelove, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to rsilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to the Dr. Strangelove clip and to my videos about the urban-rural divide and the interstate secession movement. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.